Hello and welcome to the Discover Dayton podcast, the podcast that's all about the past, present, and future of the Gem City. My name is Arch Grieve and I'm your host, and today we're talking to Jesse Sieber, owner of Stoney's Munchie Bar in the Huffman neighborhood on 5th Street. It's one of my favorite restaurants in Dayton, especially when it comes to breakfast food, so I'm excited to talk to Jesse and learn more about the restaurant and hopefully spread the word about it a bit as well. So stay tuned for my conversation with him in a moment. All right, hey Jesse, welcome to the show and thanks for coming on.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start off first by just getting a little bit of background on you before we talk about the restaurant. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's a very complicated subject myself, but simple-wise, my name's Jesse Sieber. I'm born and raised in the Dayton area pretty much my whole life, currently 28 years old. I'm a father to a 9-year-old. Literally just winging through life. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing with anything. I'm just going with it. So.
Well, it seems like you know what you're doing when it comes to food, at least. So I got to give you that. On to the main attraction, I guess. You started Stoney's Munchie Bar, which quickly became one of my favorite restaurants after you guys opened. So let's start off maybe. When did you open, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I vividly remember you coming in the first day because when I was on my way to work, I passed you while you were riding a scooter down the road, and then I got to work and, opened up, clicked on the open side and everything, and here you come right past, and you just, like, did a little circle and then came in, brought your scooter in and sat down, and that was the first time I ever met you. Honestly, I want to say that was within our first week of opening. But yeah, we opened April 20th, 2019. It was literally the only actual date I wanted to open. Like, I didn't care if it took another year to wait to open on 420, but to have a business named Stoney's Munchie Bar and not have your anniversary on 420 would kind of be a sin.
Oh yeah, but, definitely.
The concept itself was kind of formulated when I like to go to music festivals, and I was at this one in Las Vegas and just looking around at all the different vendors and how pretty much all of them are exactly the same. You have copies of it, like, people have multiple vendors going through, and everything was very stereotypical, basic, and like it was missing a lot of things that you would want in the middle of the desert. So I just started kind of rushing through ideas of what I would be able to bring here to this event to be able to sell stuff fast and, be like a big popular attraction. And one of the kind of things I was going over was looking at all the marketing marquees going down the line. And it's just like, you got Mexican cuisine, you got pizza, corn dogs, funnel cakes. It's just all very basic. And I'm like, well, what could I throw up on one of those marquees that would be like, just grab somebody's attention? And I'm like, start thinking of ideas, and I kind of came up with Stoney's Munchie Bar. I'm like, oh yeah, like that one would work. Like if I was out in the middle of a crowd and I looked over and saw Stoney's Munchie Bar on a little marketing marquee, it'd be like, what is that? And all of a sudden I'm going to go want to check it out. And by the time I'm checking it out, I'm already stuck in the line and, more likely going to order from it. So that's where the name came from. Definitely not like the food concepts at all. Right before opening, me and a couple of my friends, we got together and went out, bought a bunch of groceries, and sat in the kitchen for pretty much about a week or two, just throwing different things together, writing down ideas, and honestly, we really winged it. We 100% winged it. Like, it was just a couple ideas, and it's like, all right, now fill in the rest with just some basic stuff. And we were very unprepared for opening, and that's 100%. But I think we're going to talk about that one here in a little bit.
Well, it seemed like you guys were well prepared for it on my end, and I was happy. I just happened to be scooting along that day and just stopped in. Now I know you're on 5th Street, and I remember in your current location, I think it used to be the home of another diner before you guys took it over, right? So Can you talk about the building maybe a little bit and what it took to get it ready for you guys to be able to get it open?
So I'm not gonna lie, that building is, I guess, everything you would expect out of a building that was built in the 1920s and never properly maintained. It is such a problem child. Every problem that I could have ever imagined happening.
Sure.
Like, if I would have known the collection of all the problems that I would have had to go through from, accepting on taking over the building and, because, it was November of 2017 when I got the keys to it, and I walked inside, and, it still had all the equipment from the old restaurant, but, when they closed it up, they just went through and, unplugged everything, which, is something that you do, you go through, unplug everything, you open the doors,
sure.
into the coolers so things don't mildew and stuff, but, the people who had it previously, did not clean things out, and they just went through and unplugged things, and it sat for, I want to say, 2-3 months before I actually went in there on that first day. No one had been in there within that time, and they did not empty out some stand-up freezers and some coolers. There was still food in pans, and I just went through just to assess. I wanted to see what kind of things I would have to do to be able to open up and be comfortable opening up, because I've worked in the industry for, as of right now, 12 years. I actually got my first cooking job when I was 16. I've worked in so many different kitchens that have had very high standards for cleanliness and, food preparation and plating and all that other stuff, and I've kind of gotten these from all the different places that I've worked. Each one had their own, little thing, and then there was other places that just did not really care, but it's things that I learned that I kind of took on to. I was like, yes, I can understand why this is important, plating, presentation, and, freshness, but also the cleanliness of the environment that you're in. And we, when I was walking through that first day and I was going through checking out the coolers, I opened up one of these freezers that was stocked full of meats and all this other stuff that had been sitting there for 2-3 months, and I just got blasted with this gas in my face.
Ooh.
And I literally just went outside and just cried. I cried for an hour, because I was just looking over everything, and aside from getting those coolers cleaned out and probably replaced, because I don't if it couldn't be properly cleaned, I'm not even going to do it.
Right.
Just assessing all the problems that was just visual in there was very overwhelming. But, I kind of bit the bullet. I called my mom and, asked for some advice at that point. And she's like, well, do you think, you're biting off a little too much? I'm like, probably, but, it's something I really want to do. And, so I went out and bought some Kills paint, which is supposed to cover up big grease, smoke, and stuff like that. Trying to paint the walls, and everything's just beating up together. Nothing would stick. So it just got to the point where I'm like, all right, I need to clean this entire place out, and I have to build a building within a building and replace absolutely everything. Everything has to be remodeled, because I can't serve in this kind of environment. And that kind of started an 18-month path of remodeling the building in my free time, because I was working a third shift job at Meyer Distribution Center, where I'd go in at 9 o'clock, I'd get off at 6 a.m. I would come down, hop in the restaurant, and work on that remodel until about 3 p.m. Get a couple hours of sleep, go back into work, and that was my life literally for 18 months.
Wow.
And every bit that I got on my paycheck that didn't have to go to my car payment, my bills and stuff, all of that went straight into buying supplies. And I had to buy a lot of stuff, because I didn't have much tools and stuff. I've never done a remodel before. Luckily my stepfather had a table saw and a couple other things that were extremely handy, because he's done a lot of remodels. But it was just a matter of acquiring equipment to be able to do the remodel, doing the remodel paycheck by paycheck. And then when we actually we were about a month out from when all right, this is our date. We're doing it on 4/20. I wanted to open up the year prior. I thought it was going to be a 6-month process, and after this, 8 months, I did not see an end to it. So I want to say it was March of 2018. it was March of 2018, a month away from 420, and I still didn't see an end to it, so I quit my job at Meyer, cashed out my 401k, and just spent all of it going, finishing up the project. And as we were opening the doors, I was still screwing in screws and setting up the point of sale. That's how not ready we were. We did not find out that the oven didn't work until our first day. The on 420, we're setting things up, and we realized the oven didn't work properly, so we couldn't bake biscuits. And that, it was so our opening day, we didn't have biscuits and gravy, which is, what we promised when opening. We're going to open up with the limp biscuit and gravy sunrise set, which, if you're local to Dayton, you kind of know that's, a 420 limp biscuit show is, kind of famous here. Oh, yeah. So to kind of open up on 420 with their sunrise set was, kind of a big deal for me personally. And then we couldn't do biscuits, so it was so depressing. So the next day we're just we got to figure out how to do biscuits. And then, we had those little ice cream scoop things. It's all right, let's try frying them, and then tried them in different sizes, and boom, that's how we ended up getting our deep fried biscuits. But so the building had been, I want to say, I can't even tell you how many different places that building's been, because it was built in 1926, I think, and I want to say the hood itself, the hood system is from 1950. Wow. It used to be a billiards hall. It used to be a barber shop so if you look at it from the outside, it looks like we had two front doors, or it might be two separate businesses. But in reality, we covered up the second door on the inside because it wasn't usable anyway. But that second half used to be a barber shop and a billiards hall, which I don't understand how it could be a billiards hall, because,
I was just about to say, I can't imagine that.
I cannot imagine anybody sticking a pool table in either of the rooms. It doesn't make sense. But as for the little diners and stuff, I think, I want to say back in the 80s or in the 90s, it used to be the Friendly Street Grill Diner or something like that. And then it became the Spot on East 5th Street.
Yeah.
And that was the last thing that it was when it ended up ultimately closing in August of 2017, I think it was.
That's the one I remember being there. That's the only thing I've ever known it as before you got there. So.
Yeah, my grandpa tried to get me to go down there and have a meal with him a couple of times. Hey, messing where you at? He's I'm at the Spot. I'm where's the Spot? I've never heard of the Spot. And he told me where it was. It was down the road from his house. So I went down there. Cause I was picking up my tax return at the time, and he was just down there hanging out with friends. And he's why don't you sit down and get a meal? And I looked around and I'm no, I'm good. I just ate. So, I kind of knew a little bit of what I was getting into when I accepted, to take it over. But I didn't really expect it to be that big of a project. And even after we did all the remodel and I felt comfortable of having people in here in this environment, this is an okay environment to serve in, then we just started dealing with all the other problems. The hood fan has gone out 4 times since we've opened.
Oh, wow.
Power supply issues. We've had a cooler go out, and a lot of 911 needed purchases type stuff.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that about the biscuits, because I love those biscuits. I didn't know that was kind of a innovation, I guess, because of the oven situation.
Yeah, 100% an accident. We were kind of leaning more toward doing kind of the baked cheddar biscuits from Red Lobster. Mm-hmm. We were going to try to do something like that, but with biscuits and gravy. But yeah, that didn't work out at all. And what we have now is a complete accident that people are, seem to be pretty fond of. So I guess it's going to stay.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm glad to hear that. I know you don't just do breakfast foods, but most of my favorite menu items from Stoney's happen to be breakfast foods. So whether it's the limp biscuits and gravy, or the chicken and waffles, or the breakfast bowl pack. I love all those. But maybe could you talk maybe a little bit about the menu and what you guys have there?
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna lie, breakfast is like the best food in my opinion.
Exactly.
It never gets old because I mean it's one of those things where like at midnight, more than likely you're very likely to pour a bowl of cereal or go make some breakfast. Like for me personally, like I am just always eating breakfast, so it was like my number one thing. If I'm gonna do a restaurant, like I really want to lean toward breakfast stuff because I really love breakfast. It makes me happy. But so a lot of it is a lot of the names are play on words because kind of the marketing aspect of the name kind of decided to go a little further and do word play on a couple of our menu items when I can figure it out. Some things get changed and the names will get changed, but everything that we make is fresh and made fresh in-house from scratch, like every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like our chicken's not frozen. Like we buy whole chicken and carve it up ourselves. We make everything from flour and sugar, and it's fun. I mean, definitely a science on learning how to kind of do that stuff, but
sure.
The menu kind of just ended up we came up with a couple, I want to say maybe 5 different items, and then the rest of it was just like filling in with traditional stuff. Like the BLT, we're already going to have bacon, so we already have bread. So just add lettuce, and then with lettuce we can add a couple more other things, but it's trying to keep everything down to where most of our items can be made, we can use it for other items as well, so we can keep our waste down as much as possible, because I don't like to waste food at all. Like if someone drops too much hash browns or something like that for a classic breakfast, I'm just like, just throw them all in there, because it's just going to sit there and we're going to have to throw it out, and I don't want to waste any food whatsoever, because food's important.
Sure.
But we're also restricted too. Our flat top is not temperature regulated. It just got these burners, and it's just fire, and you can turn the fire down, turn the fire up, but it doesn't have a consistent temperature throughout the entire grill no matter what. So I can't do crepes. I want to do crepes. I really love crepes. I've always loved crepes, but I can't make crepes on my flat top. I don't have enough breakers in my breaker box to be able to add a crepe maker or a little tiny flat top where we could do crepes. I mean,
Gotcha.
I can't even put 2 sides of my toaster down without popping a breaker.
Gotcha.
So, honestly, my friends have been the best thing in the world, throughout running this restaurant and figuring out what to do, what to add, or, coming up with random ideas. My buddy Hunter, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have our deep fried Oreos on the menu, because it's something that I've known about. I've never tried deep fried Oreos. It's a fair type item.
Mm-hmm.
But when I go to a fair, I'm going for the funnel cakes. I'm not going for the Oreos.
Sure.
But yeah, so he, threw out the idea of trying to do that. So we, tried that out. That worked. Have been making grilled breakfast wraps and quesadillas for quite a while before we actually added it to the menu. It just gets to that point where it's like, hey, we've been making this for ourselves for quite a while. Why don't we add it? It's
Sure.
you're not wrong, so just add that on. But, learned a lot of lessons over the past 12 years of working in cooking and stuff with timing of everything, drop this at a certain time, drop this at a certain time, because it all comes together, up and it's ready and it's all fresh, all consistent and out the door. One of the things that we've gotten from our fan base, or people that actually do give us feedback, is that they enjoy the consistency of the stuff that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can come to us one day and then 6 months later, and they'll still be able to have the exact same thing that they had previously. But
Right.
As you were talking about mainly breakfast items, It is mainly breakfast. Even in our later hours when we decided to open up for night shifts and stuff, we were asked, like, oh, are you going to have a dinner menu? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, no, probably not. Because,
yeah.
It's just, we don't have the space, to store extra stuff. Like, we're extremely limited on the amount of cooling and prep space that we do have. That's basically all that we can do. We pretty much just operate within our restrictions and waiting until we can find our next opportunity to grow a little bit without throwing thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars into that little tiny hole in the wall, because as of right now, with that kind of investment, it really wouldn't gain us any sort of great enough return to make it worth it at this point.
Speaking of Stoney's fans and everything, has Dayton been supportive of you guys since you opened?
I'm not gonna lie, Dayton is such a supportive community in general, and I mean, I used to not really like Dayton growing up because, being a young kid and seeing everything from a different view, and you don't really get to see the community aspect of a city when you're young, unless your parents or your family are super active in the community and taking you around everywhere. But mine weren't very active in the community, so I really never got a taste of that until I got older. And when starting up the restaurant and going through the process of being about to open, we did get a little bit of pushback from the two historic districts that we neighbor. Both of the community organizations for the St. Anne's and the Huffman District, they were reaching out, asking us to come down and talk at the community meeting about what we were doing, because there were some misconceptions in the neighborhood that we were just going to be some stoner hippie bar. And I just sat there and thought back, I'm like, well, I mean, what is a stoner hippie bar? I don't know really how I could classify that, but I kind of just like, you know what, I'm not going to go down there and make them feel better about this. I'm just going to do what we're doing, and they can come check us out if they want to. And then we opened, got completely bombarded on our first day. Like, when I say that we were not ready for what happened on our first day, we were absolutely not. Because, I mean, I'm not lying when I say we were still screwing in screws, setting up the point of sale, and, like, we just had to, had my mom run to FedEx and get a menu whipped together real quick. So yeah, everything was just absolutely chaotic, and I, kind of wish we would have been able to do kind of like a soft opening so we can kind of get used to what we are doing and make adjustments on how we're doing it. But like, even after that absolute disaster of a first day, like, people kept coming back. They're like, it was your guys' first day, like, you're going to have your hiccups, you're figuring things out, and
sure.
People came back the next week, and then they came back the next week, and, like, when opening, I had a couple of different opportunities to market the business and to promote it, and I really didn't want to do that. One, I didn't have the money to do that, and marketing is very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But even still, even if I did have the kind of financial money to put toward that end, I didn't want to do it because I kind of wanted to test what we had and what we were doing. Everything that, all the marketing that happened before opening was me personally going around and talking to people, Yellow Springs, walking around Dayton. I would just, walk up to people with a little flyer of the menu that we were, going to open with, and just passing it out to people and talking about what we had, what we're doing. And I did that for, I want to say, the first 6 months, even after opening. I was just walking around talking to people, and if those people came in, they had a good experience. Everything comes out in a very presentable fashion. It's fresh. and, they enjoy the environment, they're going to leave on a very positive note. Because, I believe, like that kind of stuff just radiates. You can come in a bad mood, super hungry, have a great meal, great experience, great service, just all around, you leave on a better positive note, and that's going to radiate through your day. So if you kind of have that kind of experience somewhere, you're more than likely going to talk about it. You're going to tell your friends about it. You're going to tell your coworkers, and like that word of mouth right there, you can't pay for something like that. You can't go down to iHeartRadio and pay for that kind of advertisement right there, because everybody hates commercials. People, they see billboards, but are they really looking for driving? Right. But like when you have somebody that you're working with, or like a family member that's like super hyped about something, and like, that's the best advertisement you could ever have. And we've had that a lot with Dayton. Like, nice. I've seen people come in early in the morning and, working a full 18-hour shift. I've seen that same person come back through 3 times. And that's happened with different people. Like, they'll come back 2 to 3 times in the same day. And we've also had people hear about us from locals, drive 4+ hours away, like north of Detroit, north of Fort Wayne. And like, I want to say we even had someone from, I think it's a biker group, like a biker collective they're like spread out over Ohio. Like, they all met up at, Stoney's. Like, they hit us up and asked if, they all could, have a little private dining thing. And I'm like, absolutely, like, come on down. Nice. But like, we see the same faces over and over again, and like, I feel like that's the best affirmation ever. Like, ever since the pandemic and everything, we really haven't dealt as much with our regular customers face to face. One of the best things that we have anymore is, since we don't get much face-to-face interactions with our customers, because we're primarily only carry out or delivery right now, due to the many issues that the building has, like our furnace doesn't work properly, our AC doesn't work properly, so we can't confidently have dine-in service without risking people being upset because it's too cold, it's too hot, whatever. So, we just kind of strictly stick with the delivery and carry out. But when people call us, or they'll message us on Facebook or Instagram, and they'll just tell us, like, hey, we just ordered from you guys for the first time, and I just want to let you know that this is like one of the best breakfasts we've ever had. Or like this one girl message saying that it was something along the lines of how we brought back her passion for breakfast food. Nice. And I'm just like, well, that's so it's weird. It's weird for me personally, because I'm an awkward person. I'm weird. I'm not great at in social situations unless I'm comfortable with the people. Very socially awkward, and I've always just been that awkward outcast, like, my entire life. So to kind of do something that gets the kind of reception that it has, and the kind of feedback that people like, and for people to actually go out of their way, like, that's it, like, right there, people are going out of their way to call us and tell us over the phone that they appreciated that meal, and like that meal meant something to them, which is, it's food. Like, food is very important, and I've always been passionate about food, but to get that kind of feedback is very, it's humbling, it's very soul-lifting, and it really makes us feel like we're on a really good path, even though I doubt myself almost a million times a day. And then I go back and something like that, like, I could be having like a really bad day, like my confidence will be super low, and like my phone will buzz, and I'll look at it, and like someone just sent us a message, saying something like that, and like, I'm not gonna lie, a couple times it's made me cry. Like,
yeah, I'm sure. No, that's got to feel good. I can imagine.
Dayton is awesome. Dayton is very awesome. Dayton is very supportive, and I love it.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, so I've been in the restaurant service industry before a little bit, so just enough to know that it's definitely not easy. You've talked about, a number of the challenges already you've had to overcome. I'm wondering though, especially with the pandemic, are there more challenges that you've had to overcome with that? And it sounds like maybe that's, partly why you guys might have switched to the carry out stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say this has been nothing but challenges. I remember when we first were opening, we had not opened fully yet, and was meeting with produce supplier representatives, and one of them told me, he's like, in this industry, if you want to become a millionaire in the restaurant industry, start with $2 million and open a restaurant. I'm just like, well, dang. That's not. It was kind of crushing hearing that, like, right before we opened. It's like, it's not the kind of boost that I needed. Like, it was kind of depressing.
Yeah.
But kind of too late to back out now off of someone's random comment, but I'm not going to let it eat away at me. But it's all been challenges because personally, I've never done anything like this. I've worked in the restaurant industry, and like I've always been a line cook, and through the different restaurants that I've worked at, I've learned a lot of different techniques and skills, and little things that have just kind of stuck with me along the way. But as of like running a business, I have no idea. Like, this is all a learning thing. Lots of Google searches, lots of YouTube videos, and Reddit forums, just to find out what other people are dealing with, or how they're solving certain problems, or what software are they using to, integrate all of their ordering platforms so they don't have 30 tablets and 30 printers across their counters. Like, I have zero education in this. Like, it's all been hands-on, trial and error, failure, and then try again. And because I'm not gonna lie, I dropped out of high school when I was in 10th grade. Had a child when I was 18, and I started looking at myself in a really bad way, because like I looked at myself the way society would be looking at me as I'm a statistic, a high school dropout, had a kid at a young age, no formal education backing them. It's like, going through the school system the way that I did, you always knew that if you drop out of school, you better sign up at McDonald's, because, that's your future. That's what I believe, because those are the kind of, that's the way I was just raised. And, I dropped out due to consistent bullying, and, the school system didn't want to do anything about it. So I knocked the kid out and, left and never came back.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know what I'm doing. I just kind of am solving problems as they come along and finding out the best solutions for every problem. The pandemic was probably one of the worst things that could have happened for us, because, when we started 2020, we were, just scraping by as is. We had been open less than a year. Because of my ignorance, we weren't on social media platforms and pushing to get more business and promotions, deliveries, and stuff like that, because, I was just, I don't know, I was dealing with too much in my personal life. I wasn't really thinking on the growth end at that point. And then the pandemic hit right before our 1-year anniversary, which, we were kind of sitting there planning things out and thinking about possibilities to kind of, boost ourselves. And then the lockdowns hit, and at that point, it's like, what are we going to do? Because, everything dwindled. We're a dine-in restaurant. We do carry out as well, but we're not on DoorDash, and we're not on all these other things. So, at that point, we we stayed open for about a month during the lockdowns, and we were open I want to say 16 hours a day, just trying to get whatever business we could. and it was at the point where it wasn't worth being open. So we closed down for, I want to say, 2.5, 3 months. Mm-hmm. And when was gearing to open back up again, went out, signed up for DoorDash, and was looking at the other delivery platforms as well, but also knowing that due to our size and of our building and the power restrictions that we have, I couldn't go sign up on all of them. And honestly, doing that kind of saved us, because kind of saved us a lot, because it gave us an outlet and a different way that we could push our business toward, because dine-ins, like, people don't want to go out and dine in a really tiny restaurant during a global pandemic. Like, it's everything about that is just no. And
sure. Yeah.
So yeah, we just decided to gear all of our operation towards delivery, and that took off in a really awesome way. And a lot of the other challenge that we've had to deal with is equipment. Like, you have to be prepared you have to have money to set back in case your hood fan goes out multiple different times. Found the problem with that, and ended up ultimately getting that one fixed pretty well. But like, we've had our waffle irons break. I've gone through, I want to say, 4 different brands of waffle irons before I found one that was actually durable and good for commercial use.
Wow.
But any sort of equipment needing to be replaced on the fly, we've had a refrigerator go out, had to go buy a new one.
Jeez.
And I mean, these things, like, the major expenses, like, will really put you back pretty far, especially if you haven't been saving and putting back dollars into an emergency fund for these events to happen. So,
sure.
Yeah, it's been rough, but I mean, definitely baby steps the entire way, because if we decide to lean a certain way and it goes wrong in all the worst ways, it could take us out entirely. Sure. I mean, I've had to basically restart the restaurant. I want to say there was beginning of 2020, and then also the beginning of 2021, had to restart the restaurant again.
Wow.
Because ended up closing at the in December for I want to say about a week and a half. Staffing, I cannot find reliable, trustworthy staff that care about food.
Sure. Well, I'm glad you've been able to pivot, and I think you can probably learn everything you need to know on YouTube, it seems like, these days. So that's a good resource, sounds like. Have you done any other collaborations with, like, other local businesses before?
I want to say it was right before 420 last year. The guys from Pizza Bandit came down and got a meal and was talking about a possible collaboration for a pizza. And I'm like, well, I mean, what are you wanting to do? And his favorite thing was the half-baked mac and cheese. And he's like, I think this would make a really good pizza. I'm like, well, I mean, if you want to go for it, I mean, I'm all down. Like, so I made up a bunch of pasta, cheese, and butter and sent it over to him. And he ran a special, a half-baked mac and cheese pizza. I mean, sadly, I didn't get to try it. I mean, I don't do really well with a dairy in general, so okay. I decided to gift my pizza away, and I gave it to Sarah from the Barrel House because it's her favorite item on the menu. They came in within our first couple weeks, and they were raving about that half baked for a while. So nice. I wanted to give that one to her as a gift because they've always been super supportive of us. And then there was also the cookieologist. We've talked back and forth for a little bit, but he's been very busy, so that one's kind of on hold for right now. But okay. Yeah, hopefully in the future we can get something worked out where we can have some cookies and stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. What's your personal favorite menu item, I guess, that you guys have?
Well, my my personal favorite, it's not available because of the inconsistencies of being able to get the fresh products for it. But I love the French toast peanut butter and jelly. But I add thinly sliced strawberries and bananas. So like when strawberries are in season, like I'm super hyped because I can actually go get fresh, real good strawberries. But I mean, as for something that we have on the regular, the breakfast quesadilla is kind of I would say it's my favorite just because it's super filling, and also it can last me between 2 and 3 meals. Like,
nice.
Huge.
I have not had that one yet. I guess I just love. I'm the kind of person that like tends to get like the same 1 or 2 things at the restaurant I go to, whatever restaurant it is, you know.
Every single restaurant I go to, I pretty much end up like I'll order one thing my first time there, love it, and every time I go back, I get the exact same.
Exactly. Yep, I'm the same way. But for me, that's the Limp biscuits and gravy. So I love those. But
I literally have been asked to like sell that in buckets.
Yeah. I can
People
imagine.
People have offered to pay me for the recipe for it. It's like, well, how about if I tell you what I've been doing and you tell me if I'm close? And I'm just like, I'm not giving it to you.
Yeah, don't give that away. I wouldn't, but yeah, I love those. So
trade secrets.
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't know this, I guess, until I was looking at your Facebook page recently, but it looks like you guys have some merch for sale. So how can people get a hold of that?
Well, we've had stickers for a while, but we're currently out of stock on those. I do need to make an order to get more. But we recently got T-shirts. Well, I finally got T-shirts.
Nice.
I've been wanting T-shirts for years, and then finally got around to the point where, had a little bit of, extra that we can invest, toward getting those. And then it just took, like, I wanted to get them out. I wanted to have them in December or in November for the holiday season. But the guy printing them had so many issues getting the colors down. Like, he had to keep going back, redoing the printing screen over and over and over again until he could get the colors right. Because our logo has so many different colors to it, and it has been... It's been very problematic. It's because anybody that I inquire about getting prints for it, it's like, that's for every color. It's it's going to be another layer or whatnot, and it just jumps the price up. Or just this guy took on the challenge, and I saw how difficult it was for him. I mean, it took him about 3 months to get it down right and to actually get them all done. But we finally got T-shirts. It's got our logo on the front, Stoney's Munchie Bar, and then on the back, it's got a little quote that says, "They just want me for my biscuits."
Nice. Very appropriate.
We have them in store. We have a bunch of them in store that, someone comes in, they can get one there. Our guy Hunter told us to put it, asked me to put it on our DoorDash thing. So if anyone wanted to order one off DoorDash, they could do that. But I'm also working with one of my friends to try to get an online store set up to where we could add T-shirts and a couple other, random things that people might want. There's a couple merch items I'm kind of trying to push for in the future. It's just I have an artist that I'm wanting to work with, so I have to be able to hire the artist, and it's going to be a whole thing. Now, once we get that artist, though, we're going to redo our logo. He's offered to do a mural for us as well.
Sweet.
And then with that, do a digital rendering of the mural where if we decide to actually get a food truck or something, we can get it vinyl wrapped. And we're going to do T-shirts, shoes. I want to do a lunchbox and toker pokers. I don't know if you know about those, but those things are awesome.
Yeah.
You could fit a little Bic lighter inside of it. It's got like a little metal thing that pops out on one end, and it's got like a little metal base where you can stomp stuff out. But it's a little multi-tool that I just want to have a bunch of my friend was like, so an online head shop. I'm like, close, but merch.
There you go. So I also saw a post not too long ago on your Facebook page asking where you should grow. So I was maybe curious, do you got any plans in the foreseeable future?
Well, I mean, to kind of be in this kind of the situation that we're in with having a building that has as many issues as it does have, and the overall cost that it would be to fix all of them and not really gain too much out of it other than just more comfortability or ease of service. Like, we really wouldn't gain much. So we kind of do need to have other plans to grow and push ourselves in different directions. My biggest thing that I've always wanted to do was to do music festivals, to be in that community, and be there. Like, it's where I first found a community where I felt accepted, cared about. I mean, a bunch of random strangers that you can end up having some of the deepest conversations with, and like not even know who this person is, and this person that you're talking to genuinely cares about what you're talking about. They care about the story that made you you and who you are. Like, and I'm just like, this is where I want to be. Like, this is where I want to be. These are the kind of people that I want to interact with, and how do I, get into that kind of market? So, I wanted to do the vending thing. That's where I came up with the idea for the name, but ended up getting a brick and mortar opportunity before I could financially afford a food truck, which is kind of a good thing at the same time, because over the past year, we learned that probably wouldn't be the best option for us to be able to do that. It was, I want to say, June or July of last year, we got an offer to do a 3-day music festival in Cincinnati. It was a first-year festival. It's called Interstellar. I want to say they had about 3,500 attendees each of the 3 days, or maybe that's just 3,500 tickets sold, because I know for a fact not everybody went Friday, and there was way more people there Sunday than Saturday too. So, but yeah, so we ended up getting probably about 7 hours of service out of 3 days doing that. It was a learning experience all around, because we had to source all the equipment that we needed to do on site, to be able to serve on site, attend food service license. Like, it was a whole different learning experience that we've never even touched before, and honestly pretty much had no relativeness to what we currently do in our regular operation. So and then also at the same time, we got an offer to do one of the biggest music festivals that I had on my list to want to do one day, which I'm not going to lie, was definitely biting off more than I could chew. This was a 5-day music festival that was a camping festival. We would be set up in the campgrounds, have to be open 24 hours a day for 5 days straight. Wow. And to do that, I would have to source people to work it. There was the rental cost of, the equipment and the trucks, and it was very expensive to be able to do something like that. But with that one, we actually, as a standalone event, we pulled an all right profit off of it. And it was the biggest learning experience that we could have ever had, because of it. Any problem that we could have ever foreseen happened. It was the absolute worst setup that we, could have ended up with, but it gave us a lot of ideas to combat those and to cut the overall overhead cost of doing it for future events. So that's not off the book. That is something we want to do, but I don't want to hop back into it until we can purchase our own refrigerated trailer. And honestly, that's the biggest expense that's really holding us back, because it was very expensive to rent a refrigerated box truck for 10 days, and I don't want to ever have to do that again. So once we can source one of those, we're going to hop back into the festival scene. But we also have a bunch of other options on the table for, I guess there's two different ways to go about this. One, getting a second location or opening a second location locally within, I'd say, an hour region of Dayton. We could acquire our own building. We had 2 leasing opportunities come across the table. One's for Huber Heights and one's for Yellow Springs. Just trying to weigh out the options of them and what kind of financing we would be able to get to help set those things up. And then there's the national options. We found a group that does these not really pop-up kitchens. They buy big facilities in major cities and put, like 5-6 different little kitchens inside of there that you can lease out and, be on delivery platforms and have access to a large population within a small delivery radius.
That's cool.
So there's a lot of options on the table. There's one particular one that I am very much leaning toward, and I'm really hoping that everything pulls through with it and that there's no major issues, because it would be amazing to be there. So I really don't want to talk too much about that because I don't want to get my hopes up too high. Something happen.
Sure, I understand. No worries. Well, thanks for sharing the potential possibilities, I guess. That's really cool. Well, for now, I guess, where can people find you, both in the real world and online?
Personally, I'm always running around everywhere, grocery stores, blasting through aisles, like I'm always all over the place. But I mean, as for the business ends, Stoney's Munchie Bar, we're on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram. I think I had a Twitter account set up, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm absolutely horrible at using social media. But I really do try. I try my best to be as active as possible on there. But yeah, and also we got with Stoney's Munchie Bar, we also have stoney'smunchiebar.com, or you can reach us at stoney's.munchie.bar@gmail.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for talking with me, explaining about the restaurant and all the work that's gone into it. And I just really appreciate the fact that you started the business, because I love eating there. I love telling people about it. So thanks for starting it, and thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you having me on and talking to me. It's always nice to talk about all the things we're going through, because it never ends. But it's a journey. It is an absolute journey, and I feel really good about doing it too. Like it makes me happy, especially when we get the amazing feedback that we get from people. Because I'm like, I've worked at a lot of places, and I don't ever think that I've gotten feedback working at those places in any way that we get from what we do. Except for that time I worked at, was it Applebee's? Seiber comes back and like, hey, who cooked the steak, for this table? And I'm just like, threw my hand up, and like, the guy wants to talk to you. I'm like, did I mess it up? He's like, no, he just wants to talk to you. And I go out there, and dude slips me a 50 and tells me that was the best steak he's had in his life. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, thanks. Like, I was so confused, because I'm just like, that's just how you cook a steak. Like, right. Whatever.
Hey, that's awesome, though.
But yeah, I mean, I appreciate you having me on and talking to me, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again here soon.
Yeah, well, you'll probably see me in the restaurant here before too long. So, thanks again, and take care.
You as well. Thank you.
All right, that was my interview with Jesse Sieber from Stoney's Munchie Bar, which is located in the Huffman Historic District at 1929 East 5th Street. And I hope you'll check it out, because it's definitely worth a visit. I really appreciate him coming on. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please share this episode with a friend. Like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, and you can find the show notes on the website at www.discoverdaytonpodcast.com. All right, take care, everyone, and stay funky, Dayton.